What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very angry and brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT Network. No, your eyes do not deceive you. We all four made it to a show. It's awesome. Make sure you head on over to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button, hit that join button, hit the thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure you head on over to Broncos Syndicate, hosted by Gates Madrid, that guy right down there.
Which we are streaming from as well, by the way.
We are streaming from there as well. Thank you, Gage. So make sure, if you have not already, hit that like, subscribe, thumbs up, and the join button. And it gives you the options of what the memberships are and what the perks are for that. So make sure you do that. Since it's been so long since we've all been together on the show, how is everybody doing?
I myself am actually doing okay. I can't speak for the rest of Broncos country, Broncos Twitter, and everything. But all in all, I'm doing okay. I have a good job. I woke up this morning, and it was a beautiful day of 70 degrees. It's good.
The best part about what I do is that regardless of if I like or dislike what the Broncos do, there's still plenty to talk about, lots of content to be made, lots of conversation to be had. So I'm doing awesome, man. Looking forward to talking some ball tonight.
I'm doing great. I missed you guys.
Missed you so long, man.
That's weird. All right, so before we get into any Gage talking about his balls talk, let's go ahead and talk about
favorite subject.
The breaking news right now, which has nothing to do with us. Max Crosby, the trade that was set up between the Raiders and the Ravens, which was 2 first-round picks, right?
Yeah, 2 first-round picks, 2026, 2027.
The Ravens have backed out. They are not taking that trade, and it sounds like, again, I can't confirm. I'm not sitting here on Twitter all night trying to confirm it, but it sounds like it's a failed physical or a medical thing, which is why they didn't do it. So it makes you wonder 2 things. One, with all these free agent additions that the Raiders were going to do, are they going to be able to pay for that with Crosby's contract still there? And right. 2, does this mean that there is more of a medical issue with Crosby, that he's going to miss more time than we expected him to?
I think there's 2 angles of this we have to look at here, and it's from the Ravens as well as the Raiders. Were the Raiders trying to pull a fast one on the Ravens? Did they know that his knee was that bad? Reports indicated that this was a full meniscus tear, and according to Ian Rappaport, there's really no such thing as a failed physical. It's just how comfortable is the team with assuming the risk. And clearly, the Ravens did not like what they saw in there, and they just weren't comfortable with assuming that risk. When it comes to the Raiders, what do they do now? Because they do have $30 million more on their books, and they agreed to 5 really big contracts. Tyler Linderbaum, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Jalen Naylor, and there was one more I can't think of off the top of my head. And they also extended Eric Stokes. Quiddy Pay, that was the other one I couldn't think of.
Yeah, Quiddy Pay.
So many big moves, and at this point, if they have to have Crosby's contract under their books, they'll probably have to rescind 1, if not 2 of those deals. Do you trade Max Crosby to either the Ravens or another team for less draft capital? Because it seems like Crosby's done with them at this point. So they probably don't want to bring him back just for locker room vibe purposes. Both parties have respectively moved on. So it just feels like there's still going to be some sort of separation, but the Raiders are not going to get what they originally got for him, and they are taking a massive L here.
Yeah, Cowboys is the other is another team that I guess is the rumored team for Crosby, and I guess that at the very beginning they were like the number 1 landing spot for Crosby. So it'll be really interesting which team doesn't get Max Crosby if they end up getting Trey Hendrickson. That's the other fallout of this too, because there have been some speculation of Trey Hendrickson in Dallas. And obviously if this trade did back off, which they Baltimore did, I think for all intents and purposes, you could very likely say that Trey Hendrickson will probably be a Baltimore Raven by Wednesday. So I don't know. There's just a lot to unpack. And obviously, I know that there are different doctors and how they evaluate things and everything. And so the other thing you really do have to put into perspective here is if there's a meniscus, there is no guarantee that he will be passing a physical for even said the Dallas Cowboys. And even if he is traded to the Dallas Cowboys, there is even no guarantee that he could possibly play this upcoming season. Right. So it's just a very wild turn of events. I mean, I still have this feeling like he's going to be traded, but there's just a lot to consider here. There's irreputable damage for the Raiders, the organization, Max Crosby, everything else, so it's just, there's just a lot. And yet they definitely could probably afford most of these players, if not all of them. But you got to think that there's at least one or two players that the Raiders did sign, that could frankly be off the books. And I think logically speaking, from a depressed Broncos fan who probably needs to upgrade off of a linebacker, I would like it to be either Nakobe Dean or Quay Walker, please, so that we can, so that it could be one of those guys, because at least on the surface, financially, maybe doing two linebackers is a bit crazy.
I think when they were reading the doctor's notes that, it had some of the vitals, it had some of the other information, and it also said Trey Hendrickson will cost you 2 first-round picks. So I have a feeling that he's going to be there tomorrow, which if that ends up happening, that's going to be one of those things where who's going to want to do a deal with the Ravens? I mean, because that would seem pretty bad faith. But I also like how that we're also coming across like we're not absolutely just like overjoyed that the Raiders once again got embarrassed, like in just like, this is horrific situation. I think they had $130 million in cap space to spend, so they should be fine, even with his money back on the books. But imagine if there is a real physical issue, who's going to sign off of that next trade? That's going to take some real stones for the next team to get a sign off either from their team doctor or their GM that we should give up some draft capital and get this guy in, even if he's injured.
I will say this, there is a Baltimore angle of this that I think is going to be a little bit fascinating. And, and I think that's one of the reasons why probably Trey Hendrickson is probably in the books. But Lamar broke the news.
He did.
Like Lamar Jackson broke the news of the Max Crosby deal. So that's another reason why I would assume Trey Hendrickson is at least in the cards, or excuse me, at least somebody else, just because, you're going to have even an upset quarterback now. And so that needs to be resolved as soon as possible. And so I would have to assume that that's another reason of the angle for Trey Hendrickson is they need to please their quarterback one way or another.
And what's so funny about this isn't the first time that the Raiders have gotten themselves into trouble with a failed physical. A couple of years ago, they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, and he failed his physical, and they ended up working it out by the end of the season, but it was still a big PR nightmare that they had to deal with throughout the entirety of the offseason, all a training camp, and this is just yet another PR nightmare for the Raiders, and it just goes to show that they are one of the most incompetent, dysfunctional, stupid organizations in all of football.
I remember that Jimmy's hair, one of his hair was out of place, so they had to fail the physical.
Yep.
It wasn't perfect.
All right. So obviously the trade was before all of the legal tampering happened in the free agency, right?
Yes.
Okay. So since I'm not saying that they can't afford, what I'm saying is it's going to put them in a little bit of trouble because they're thinking, hey, this isn't on our cap anymore. We can structure it this way. Exactly. So this is what the Raiders have done since they announced the trade. Tyler Linderbaum, they brought in the center. He's on a 3-year, $81 million deal. Bear with me. I'll get there eventually. I still use paper because I'm old.
I'm looking at all this paper. I'm like, are those the actual contracts? Like,
Just not as old as Glenn. Quiddy Pay got a $16 million per season.
Pootie Tang got 2 years and 10 mil, which is good.
N'Kobe Dean got 3 years, 36 mil. Quay Walker got 3 year, 40.5.
Lot.
What?
Just you literally looks like you're filing through the contract.
I am. I'm just filing through all this crap, trying to get it all figured out.
Last time Mike did that, he was at H&R Block.
I normally have it all set up, but I had a bunch of meetings today. I didn't have time. Jalen Naylor, 3 years, 35.
But why are they not all on one sheet?
Listen, I didn't have time. I was busy. Yeah, Pootie Tang. There, how about that?
How many trees had to die for Mike to tell us about the Raiders?
I don't know. There's 34 pages there, so I just
Getting
went
us
to
back on track,
NFL.com and
though,
went
man.
print.
Getting us back on track. That is a lot of money. Over $280 million that the Raiders dished out grand total. And realistically, they probably will get this situation figured out. But they might have to tweak their philosophy in terms of how they constructed it, because they went into this entire process thinking, man, we're going to have $30 million off our books, 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year. They sat out on the initial wave of free agency with wide receivers because they felt they could get one with that Ravens pick, but nope, that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
Either way you slice it, man, even if they ultimately do trade Max Crosby, this is a big L and a big blemish on the Raiders as an organization.
I mean, 280 million is the equivalent of 2.8 million meals at PF Chang's, actually. So, yeah.
By the way, news just came through that apparently, according to The Athletic, the Dallas Cowboys will not re-engage in Max Crosby trade talks. That came from Diana Rossini. But yeah, it's
Which is surprising. It's Jerry Jones. He
Good
doesn't
for the
care.
Raiders, man.
yeah.
All right. So let's spend the rest of our time talking about the Broncos free agents.
Yay!
Okay, done. Show's over. Nothing. Nothing. We've done nothing.
Well,
Listen. Glenn called me earlier and we talked. We didn't talk. We yelled about this on the phone. Like, listen, I am. It bugs me that we haven't brought anybody in, but it does not upset me that we're not overpaying for these guys, because the majority of these players that we were wanting to bring in got contracts way too high. Like I don't want to pay that much money, and I'm not saying that this is every free agent, but the majority of high-paid free agents do not work out in their new contracts on their new teams. So
I mean, last year's
I'm thinking the majority of these guys that were like, "Oh crap, we didn't get them." I don't know if they're going to be all that good.
Hang on, let me go through the guys we haven't gotten. Hang on a second. We got
Yeah, I got them all too. They're right here. File through all these papers.
I mean,
we let
last
Pootie
year's
Tang
free
go,
agency is kind of an indicator of that, right? Because you spent a bunch of money to bring in Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, later on J.K. Dobbins, and Evan Ingram, as well as Trent Sherfield. The only ones that really worked out for you were J.K. Dobbins and Talanoa Hufanga.
right.
So ultimately, the quality of free agency has diminished over the last 10 years because teams have gotten smarter and they've got more money to spend with the cap going up. And there's just a significant effort across the league to retain their in-house talent. And that's exactly what the Denver Broncos have done.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a bunch of talent set to hit the market this year. Cortland Sutton, Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, so many guys. And Denver extended all of them and made sure they didn't get out the building. Denver is following the recipe to win to a T by keeping their in-house guys. Sure, we can be frustrated about their complacency at the linebacker position with Alex Singleton or the tight end position with Adam Troutman. I've complained about that plenty on this channel and on Broncos Syndicate, which we're also streaming on. But at the end of the day, man, this team, we shouldn't be talking about firing Sean and George for staying a little bit complacent in free agency when you just went to the AFC Championship game.
I can't believe Cam Parker keeps pushing that, but here he is.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just
when the chat turns on Cam in 3 seconds.
Well, it's interesting because like when you look at just like the Broncos offseason, I don't think it's wrong how you cut it, but like, when you maintain status quo and you maintain continuity, that's not like continuity, as we've said, even this last year, is not a bad thing. But the point of the continuity thing is also, at least in this standpoint and in this offseason, is also to address needs, which bringing in and re-signing players that were allegedly positions of need, but they were your own players, is not necessarily addressing a need. So maintaining status quo is also, relatively speaking, looking at it worse of this roster. So yeah, they are the same roster that went 14-3 and went to the AFC Championship game, and I still very much think that they're a very good roster. The problem is everybody else got better. So maintaining status quo is good and all, but it's also one that it also very much, as we've seen so far in at least a couple hours, 72, whatever hours, the Broncos got worse just because they were doing nothing.
It's the old saying, you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Right. Cam just phrased it perfectly. I don't think people are so upset about looking at these other teams and thinking about how they've overpaid. But it just so happens that the guys they're bringing back are all the positions that we felt needed to be shaken up a little bit. And so what is going to be different? We've talked about the tight end room. You've got, they re-signed Troutman. They re-signed Atkins. They've got Ingram in there. Like what room is in there for someone else to come in for a rookie in there? I just, the Troutman, $6 million a year. I just don't understand it. I like Singleton, but he's going to be 33 years old, and the guys can't seem to be covering any sort of pass plays. Vance calls him his eyes and ears on the field. He should hire him as a coach then, right. and have him on the sideline if he's that valuable in the locker room and that valuable to him. But I mean, people are going to be really pissed when he can't seem to be covering guys running down the field because he hasn't been doing that right now.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing we were talking about in the green room, Gage and I, and it's like, it may not have been so much of the retaining of Atkins, the retaining of the tendering, the Tyler Toilets, just because you can move off of those guys. But I think it's just probably point and simply Adam Troutman and Alex Singleton. Those are probably those two deals that really trigger everything for the Broncos fan base. And look, you're talking to a person that didn't mind Troutman. I did expect him back, but anybody that expected a deal that was 3 years worth
$18 million, right?
$18 million, which is roughly to what Mike Kliss was reporting and everything, saying it was basically the Jesse Bates or the John Bates deal, if you will, the tight end for Washington, one of the better blocking tight ends and everything. We can word it however it is that we want. It's still a very, to be blunt, very irresponsible use of money to sign Adam Troutman specifically to that sort of money. And Alex Singleton, at the very most, needed to have a 1-year deal. You put it perfectly. He's 32 years old. Getting a 2-year deal is irresponsible. Now, I will say this, though. When you look at it from the contracts as a whole, for the most part, probably aside from Adam Troutman, they can get out of basically all of those deals. So they retained a lot of these players for sure, but at least financially and everything going forward, they can at least get out of these deals and free up a little bit more of that money going forward. Whether that happens with a team that is very much prides themselves on loyalty under Sean Payton and George Payton remains to be seen. But that is definitely a something that I would watch follow maybe this year, and obviously next year too. Of course, with these contracts, is they can be able to get out of those.
Yeah.
The thing that rubs me the wrong way with Adam Troutman in particular is you have the team through the media putting out this PR fluff saying that Troutman's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. When you watch the film, that's clearly not the case. I will say Frankie's film did put out like a 3-minute highlight reel of Troutman's run blocking, and there were some positive plays there. But you could also put out a 3-minute highlight reel of Troutman's negative run blocking plays as well. He's the definition of mid for me. I've said that so many times. And you had opportunities to upgrade with guys like Johnny Munt, who got cut by the Jaguars, or David Njoku, who's still out there. And I'm quite frankly holding out a little bit of hope they still might bring David Njoku in. Or possibly, Dallas Goedert, even though he's not the best blocking guy. You can still bring in some more effective tight ends than Adam Troutman. And by gaslighting fans through the media, come on, man, they're smarter than that. And the ones who aren't smarter than that, quite frankly, get exposed as non-ball knowers. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah,
we're talking about Gage's balls again. Like, this is a recurring theme.
I think getting lost in all of this, because I'm not a fan of really any of the moves that the Broncos have made. I understand continuity. I understand keeping a team together that just went to the AFC Championship and it was a broken ankle after the Super Bowl. I get it. But one of the things that's getting lost here is that we re-signed All-Pro Palcho and then didn't ask Powers to take a pay cut, didn't ask him to restructure, didn't cut him, didn't do anything. I think that's one of the dumbest things ever. When you go back and look at the 10 games that Palcho was in, the running game got better, right? Palcho got votes to be an All-Pro. So I don't understand why you extend Palcho and don't do anything with Powers.
But I think that there's an argument still to be had that if you want the best offensive line, keeping Powers is still fine. Because if you want the best, in terms of free agent too, and I think there's also probably something to be said that when Sean Payton came here, who were the two moves that Sean Payton made in terms of immediately coming here? It was Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers. So there might be loyalty, emotional attachment to a Ben Powers, where at least contractually they want to make sure that he fulfills the very last end of that deal. But I think that's the thing is this is also just the last end of his deal. He could have restructured. He could have done this. So they can probably move off of him for sure. But there were also other ways that they can restructure a deal, which they did with Quinn Miners. Now we'll see what that in turn turns into as far as another deal and everything. But I just think it's one where if you really do want to make sure you're having the best offensive line possible, then keeping Ben Powers and keeping Alex Palczewski is frankly, one of the smarter moves still. And even for Palcho, he is very much deserving of a raise. And I'm very grateful that the Broncos did do and give him a little bit of a raise. Now, obviously on top of that, it just kind of became, they're going to keep Powers on top of that. So it just became one of those other 2-year deals that was very savvy.
Yeah. When have you ever seen a team extend a multi-million-dollar contract to a backup lineman? So when that contract happened, I thought for sure Powers was going to be gone. Then they restructure Quinn Miners, free up another $11 million to the cap. It looked like we were just really positioning ourselves to make a move right off the bat. That being said, the money has been absolutely stupid money. And if you look at the contracts, there have been a lot of 3-year contracts, but if you actually look at the guarantees,
right,
the second year is almost exactly where you can get out of it and not have any dead money out of that. So a lot of these teams are probably just figuring on having that player for 2 years. Ours seems to generally structure where the second year doesn't match up to Exactly. And so we are going to end up eating some money if we end up dumping some of these guys. I mean, it looks like we have Greenlaw, and we're going to eat just over $2 million for each of the next 2 seasons in dead money.
Which, by the way, I think is very hysterical that we're going to spread out 8 million cap space.
4 million.
Yeah, but basically, like, spread that out into 2 years. It's like, bro.
And that was kind of the argument against releasing Ben Powers, because you would have also had to structure it as a post-June 1st release, and you'd be spreading that money out as well, and it basically would have washed itself out. I made a video talking about that. There really wasn't a financial benefit to moving on from Powers, so you might as well just keep him here.
Yeah.
10XLZ, why are we so worried about running back and not our worst position, wide receiver?
I'm not
Our
sure.
worst position would be tight end or linebacker, not wide receiver.
Between those two, I would just say between those two, it's like there's some people that do feel like the wide receiver room in general needs a facelift. Like there's no doubt. But running back is very much still a work in progress. Even with Dobbins here, like it is still very much a work in progress, because the moment he was not on the field and he was not healthy, there were still moments where it became even, and for as much as RJ Harvey did, it was one of the worst rooms, bottom feeder rooms in the National Football League. And that was the tight end room. It was the running back room. And it made a lot of sense why you were hearing a bunch of rumors that the Broncos were inquiring about Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, and all these big name running backs, only to be once again missing out.
Yeah, and obviously we'll get back into free agency and how Denver's done absolutely nothing. But kind of a sidebar with the wide receiver thing. I kind of am of the opinion that Marvin Mims should be number 1 and Sutton go to 2.
He's going to have a lot to show to be wide receiver 1 immediately, if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I have a lot of issues with Marvin Mims as a wide receiver. I think that he's a really good dynamic athlete as a return man. His route tree is limited, and that's putting it very nicely. There have been some times where Mims' route running hasn't been the greatest. You look at that pick that Christian Gonzalez had in the AFC Championship game, that was a really bad route by Marvin Mims. Until his route running gets better and you can depend on him to win most routes in the route tree, I just don't think that he could be a wide receiver 1. He's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So who has the list of who?
I do like Chuck mentioned trading up for Sadiq. That is, I would love that. I mean,
listen, I think we all would love that. I'm just being told, and this is Ben Albright, so take it with however you want. He does not believe that the Broncos will be willing to trade that much capital to move up to get him, because you're going to have to go at least top 12, top 10 to get him.
The other side of this too is, in this economy of the Denver Broncos, that requires us being aggressive, which in
measured.
Well, in our history of all doing this and watching the Denver Broncos, what in their history have we ever seen where they've actually been aggressive post Russell Wilson? Like truly aggressive? Not really. So I'm all for it. But I will say this relative to the draft. I very much am of the opinion that I think that they will likely trade back in the actual draft. Just because if they're looking at it from the depth side and everything,
God, no.
Like it would be
Colorado already has too many people.
I'm not touching that with a 100-foot pole. Nope.
No.
Sorry.
The legal stuff with Diggs is just too much to overlook, man. You cannot give him a deal until that gets figured out. And even then, not somebody who jives with this kind of locker room. Sean Payton has gotten rid of diva wide receivers who bring toxicity and bad culture. Jerry Jeudy. So no.
There's only one reason why. The Stephon Diggs news has been remotely linked, and it's because of Davis Webb and him have a connection. That's the only reason why Diggs is being linked to Denver. As far as the trade and trading back, it's just you've already accumulated so much depth, and building your team, the best way to do it is trading back, acquiring capital, and building out that roster with depth from a few positions of need that they can do on depth, which is offensive line. Tight end is a pretty decent class, knock on wood, hoping they add someone. Linebacker class is relatively deep, knock on wood, hoping that they can add someone. Running back class is okay, but they can still add a running back, right a little bit earlier. Wide receiver is really sneaky in terms of this. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if maybe the interest of these wide receivers in free agency is to maybe point us to the direction that maybe they take another wide receiver here in this upcoming draft. So I think that when you look at it, from the Broncos side of things, I think it's likely they trade back and actually finally get a chance to actually acquire more capital, which would be the first time since never.
I'm actually of the mindset that wouldn't be enough.
I agree. That would not be.
That's not enough.
I mean, they're going to keep him. They're going to bring in Kyler for $1.3 million.
Now, if that was the offer, yes, I would take it. But that's
yes.
But that's not
happy. So Jeff Bryan wrote, Sadiq won't get past KC, and that is a real possibility at this point, because now that they signed Kenneth Walker, the third, they don't need to draft Love, so they're out of the running back game in the first round, I would say. So,
but also
that is terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
But also too, like, it's one of the reasons why, and this may or may not be an unpopular opinion, it's one of the reasons why I never understand the Kansas City Chiefs signing Kenneth Walker.
Mm-hmm.
It's irresponsible. They didn't really need to sign him or a back right away, if you will. They had Isaiah Pacheco, who's doing okay and a pretty decent job, right? You can go out and draft one even later. The biggest need that they needed on that roster for really the most part is offensive line, and basically trading away your entire secondary and making a defense worse. So there are so many needs on that football team that even with the Kenneth Walker, it's not even a remote ceiling raiser for this team.
Not only that, they gave $12 million guaranteed to a well past his prime Travis Kelce. So everybody talks about the Chiefs as big winners of free agency. I disagree. I think they're big losers because they just paid almost $15 million in average annual value to a running back who cannot catch and cannot block. He is a one-dimensional football player, and that's why I didn't want the Denver Broncos to spend that kind of money on him. They paid the Super Bowl MVP tax, and I agree Kansas City's run game needed some work, but kind of like Cam said, you had Isaiah Pacheco in the building, even though he might not be quite the same after the injuries. He's still a pretty good running back that was doing a decent enough job for you. And if you really want to improve your run game, invest in your offensive line. Like, come on, that should be a no-brainer here, but apparently not for Kansas City. I think that this is going to blow up in their face, and I have a really, really hot take. Kansas City Chiefs will not reach another Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together. I'm not saying they won't reach another one with Patrick Mahomes, but they're not going to reach another one with Reid and Mahomes together.
So what's the plan? I'm on Madden right now trying to sign players, but they ain't doing nothing. All right, so let's kind of talk about players that the Broncos were linked to, and I'm not going to hold these papers up so you can all make fun of me. I'm going to do it over here so you can't see what I'm doing. Alec Pierce was one that people were talking about a lot. He went back to the Colts, 4-year, $114 million. Woo-hoo! Now, okay, so, and we'll continue with this, but there were three specific players, at least that I know about, that the Broncos were actively going after, and that's Devin Lloyd, that's Kendrick Bourne, and ETN. Those were the three, right? Yep. And am I missing one?
Who was the second one you said? Sorry?
Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Those are the three that I know about. Is there any that I'm missing?
They were at the beginning of the process in on Romeo Dobbs, but they didn't call him this past week to offer him a deal.
They were going to go after Kenneth Walker and then tell us that he's one of the best blocking running backs in the NFL.
Yeah. So speaking,
that's usually how it works when he signs with your team.
Yeah. So all three of these players that we were interested in and talking to, we got outbid. And good. Like I don't want to pay that much money for them.
I don't think it was necessarily outbid with ETN though.
Yeah.
He wanted to go home. He wanted to go back to Louisiana.
But from what I'm seeing is that the Broncos had a specific number, like we will not go above this number, and it went above that number.
Yeah,
he wanted 13 per year, which is a lot.
The other part of it is Dobbs too. They were at least circling on Dobbs, and Dobbs got
because I know that Singleton and Dobbins were plan B, right? Plan A was Lloyd and was ETN.
I was gonna say it depends on the point of view because the way
and again, this is all coming from like Kliss, Albright, like those guys. So Devin Lloyd ended up going to the Carolina Panthers on a 3-year, $45 million deal.
Yep.
That doesn't seem outrageous to me. Am I wrong about that?
It's not at all. That's a really big steal, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not that bad, which kind of sucks. But then, like, they're like, oh, well, we'd re-sign Sternod and Single Nut for less. Those two combined for less than Lloyd. It's like, and?
Again, that's the whole PR thing that Gage was referring to. It's just
who cares? And?
It's just like,
I mean, you can't go with the 2 for the price of 1, deal here.
Like the thing that is actually very stupid about all of this, and it is that like you have Walmart owners. Why are we using Moneyball tactics? I get on the surface 2 players signing, possibly is maybe better than actually signing a one linebacker to a large amount of money. It's Devin freaking Lloyd. He's one of the best linebackers on the market. And you're Walmart, you have really large pockets. Are you just trying to come off that you're very fiscally responsible and everything? So let's make sure we sign 2 players because this is what Sean Payton wants and what Vance Joseph wants. So let's make sure we do and appease them and not put our foot down and be like, hey, we'll really upgrade you by actually like sign Devin Lloyd, go out and still sign a Travis Etienne, and let's be aggressive. No, not at all.
It's the C word, man. They got complacent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not the C word I was thinking of. Okay.
We all froze.
Right? Rashid
My
Shaheed
disappointment is immeasurable, Mike.
I know, right? Rashid Shaheed was brought up a little bit earlier.
Plan B.
No, I don't use that. He went back to Seattle on a 3-year, $51 million contract. I got 6 kids. I obviously don't use it. Just saying. Cade Otton was another name that was brought up with the Broncos. He went back to Tampa Bay on a 3-year, $30 million deal. Isaiah Likely. I wanted Wan'Dale Robinson. I was probably the only one. He
got a lot of money.
He got a lot of money.
$78 million deal that includes $38 million guaranteed.
That's a fat bag, man.
Yeah.
And Cam, if you can run the chat while I'm looking at going down through these, I'd appreciate that. Travis Etienne went to New Orleans.
Crosby's available.
4-year, $52 million deal for Etienne. Here's one. Jonathan Franklin Myers, JFM.
Jeff, you and Jeff Bryan could get together and buy a school bus.
Was on the Denver Broncos. They decided not to bring him back. He goes to Tennessee on a 3-year, $63 million deal with $42 million guaranteed.
Lower than
Denver could have paid that.
You what?
Denver could have paid that.
And again, that's one of those
personally, again,
literally matched up to
I just don't feel like he's worth that much. It's just
JFM?
me. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, he was also still one of your more valuable defensive linemen. So you were expecting him. It's one of the weird ways to say status quo. You were expecting him to leave, but you also wish he would have stayed because it's not my money. So I would have definitely tried my best to at least sign him to maybe even a more friendlier discount, but even more guarantees or something to make sure that he stays. But it'll be a loss. I think that there's a way that they can be able to, at least have it for fortified, if you will. But it'll be really interesting. Because I do think in the draft they can at least try and do so to add competition with the Waziriki and Savion Jones.
But I think all of Broncos country was like, I don't want to say comfortable with the idea of JFM going somewhere else, but just resigned to the fact that he was going to go somewhere else because he was going to get paid so much money.
Yeah.
That, and I'm not saying that 21 million is not a lot of money, but that is much. I was expecting high 20s from him.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that, I'm like, we could have kept that part of the gang going. I would have been fine with that one.
The other side of it too, and it's probably one of the reasons why it was a foregone conclusion. Wandale Robinson and John Franco Myers are one of the very few people that were leaked that were just bona fide locks for the Titans. Is just because when you have that amount of money, there is no way, even us, as much as we probably would have wanted to keep JFM, we're even going to be outbidding them. Like there is just simply no way that we would be outbidding that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like for at least this year they could have, but then you look at the future years, you do have to think about the Bo Nix extension that's impending, some of the other big money extensions that are going to kick in. This year it would have made sense, but maybe the following 2 years it wouldn't have.
Renegotiating Pat Surtain.
Mm-hmm.
Get him back where he truly ends up belonging.
Yeah.
Grossly underpaid.
Romeo Dobbs was tied to the Broncos. He ended up going to the Patriots. What was his deal? I know it's 4 years, but what
4
was
for 80.
4 for 80.
20 million for a guy whose career year was this year, just over 700 yards.
Right.
Another,
and if you compare
Troy Franklin, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Another player and another team specifically that was desperate. The Patriots were missing out on wide receivers badly. Once again, the Colts spurned the Patriots by signing Alec Pierce, and it really kind of screwed them. And obviously, it seems like the A.J. Brown trade is off the table. It seems like altogether, like he's not even going to be traded at all. We'll kind of circle back on that probably around, draft night and stuff like that. But just, I don't know. Like that seems like it's off the table. So they were really desperate. To get something done, and overpaying for a guy who's frankly maybe with the Packers was a wide receiver 3 in a room that kind of resembles ours, is a very risky business.
Yeah. And then the last one, no, not the last one. The second to last one I've got is Rico Dowdle. I know we talked about him a little bit. He ended up going to the Steelers, 2 years, $12.25 million. Which I would have been excited for Dowdle instead of McLaughlin, right? Because then you have Dobbins with Harvey, and then you rotate in Dowdle. I like that better than rotating in McLaughlin. And nothing against McLaughlin, but Dowdle's shown more.
I feel like Dowdle was looking for more of an opportunity to be an RB1. He had to rotate last year with Chuba Hubbard in Carolina, and he's still going to have to rotate with Jalen Warren there in Pittsburgh, but overall, I do feel like he's going to get an opportunity to get more carries there than he would have in Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Rodney asks if we can restructure at any point. That's the funniest thing I will say. That's the other point of Broncos could have waited on some of these deals.
It's not worth restructuring right now though, right? Because he's still in the lower cap hit end of his contract extension that he got, right?
But I meant just in general, we've seen restructures happen around training camp, around just before the draft. We've seen restructures happen. So it's that's the thing is the Broncos could have signed Nate Atkins Troutman, maybe even Singleton after the draft. So that's the other side of this too. Like they could sign these players very easily, knowing they were going to stay around June, around the same time that they were going to sign J.K. Dobbins, this last year in June. It's just, I don't know. They could have made this roster better. And for the restructure question, again, they can be able to restructure anybody at any point. Cooper, Hafanga, they already did minors. They can do more as far as restructuring deals.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, we did see the Max Crosby news. We talked about it at the beginning of the show.
So one thing we didn't actually talk about or point in regards to Max Crosby, Jake Glazer brings up in teams around the NFL are definitely shocked, to say the least, at the Ravens backing out, and a few teams who were previously interested already committed their money elsewhere, so they can't jump in now. Bad all around. We haven't considered the other teams that were potential candidates that now are in the same boat where they don't have any cash left. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be fun, I guess, to see what happens with Crosby, because a team backing out of a deal on someone like Max Crosby, it has to be worse than we think, right?
And actually, relatively speaking, when you look of like one of the more respected front offices and just franchises in general, Baltimore's up there. And so for them, and it goes back to the conversation we had earlier. So the fact that we're having this conversation of the Ravens backing out probably does tell us that there was very much something we should be worried about with Crosby and that knee.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Bills, well, maybe. Last one, Tyler Algier. I'm told the Broncos had no interest, but we kind of did. 2-year, $12.25 million to the Cardinals.
Would have done that, actually. I will say that's a weird fit for me. Like that's a weird fit, because like I expected it just, that whether it was a 2 for $12 or whatever, but like I expected him to go to like some team that was in dire need of a starting running back, if you will. Like obviously us, like seemed like we were very much in dire need for a starting running back. But you go to the Cardinals, which they want to keep James Conner apparently. There's Trey Benson that is there. It's a decent running back room. It's not Bijan Robinson, obviously, but like it's a decent running back room. And so it'll be interesting to see how all those carries are divvied up, because it's like, it'll be really interesting. Like, did Algier just simply look at it just from that deal perspective, not necessarily fit? So I'm really curious.
Yeah, because you think about Algier, he was pigeonholed behind Bijan Robinson all those years in Atlanta. You'd have thought he'd be looking for some kind of role to flourish and show his true potential and maybe earn an even bigger deal, but he went to another team where he's going to be pigeonholed behind another back. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Do you think we sign someone tomorrow? That's what we're getting to right now. So we got
somebody tonight, for all we know.
Yeah, probably not.
I like the title of the show, or the Broncos buyers.
I gotta take shots. It happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I have to give credit to Maddie on this one, because he tweeted it. Was it on Monday? He said the Broncos referred to this free agency not as a free agency, but more of a re-agency, if you will, like bringing back a lot of their players.
I did hear an analogy about free agency from none other than our head coach himself. Andrew Mason actually reminded us of it today on Orange and Blue Today. You look at free agency, it's almost like going shopping for a new sofa at a garage sale, as opposed to going shopping for a new sofa at like IKEA or somewhere like that. And sometimes you'll find a mint condition sofa that's never been used, something that looks brand new. Other times you're going to find something that's either lightly used or heavily used. There's a reason why it's sitting at a garage sale.
That's the Vance garage sale, I
same
believe.
thing. You're going to find the occasional Zach Allen in free agency, a pristine, brand new IKEA sofa that has never been sat on. But more often than not, you're going to be finding something from American Home Furniture, and it's going to be with some stains on it and maybe some pet hair. You know, that's what the quality of free agency is nowadays.
Depends on the stain.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the other angle, and we'll talk about we'll talk about more of like the free agents that we may be interested in going on, forward. Because I do have to imagine the Broncos will. I do have to imagine the Broncos are going to be adding players, and I don't mean the draft. Like they'll be adding players, and I think that's like one of the reasons why like I've kind of calmed down a little bit, because I have to remind myself that this is still the first 2 days into free agency. Free agency isn't something that leads up to the draft, right? Like it leads up to the draft, and you can still sign players after the draft. It's just this whole drawn out process. So you can basically sign players till, to still add to your roster. That's what they call the first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there's a very real chance the Broncos still add someone. It's been scarring for all the players that they've been re-signing to know whether or not they will actually sign someone. Look, I tweeted out, at this point, signing someone outside the organization, if they sign a long snapper outside the organization, I will be twerking. Whether it's on this show or even on the timeline, I will be twerking knowing the fact that we signed someone outside the organization finally.
First big move, baby. New long snapper.
Right. Well,
$4 million deal.
And I do again want to reiterate, it's not that we're upset that they're not making any moves, right? Like we're more upset at some of the players they brought back and at what price point. And we don't like they haven't brought new guys in, but we don't want to pay what they've been getting. Like these contracts that these free agent players have been getting are insanity. Yeah. And we should not want them to get these players at that price point. That is way too high. Real question, guys.
Do I think Alex Singleton is good? Define good. There are some good things that he does. He's a good run defender. He's a good blitzer. His coverage stinks. He's a great leader in the locker room. His athleticism isn't really there anymore. So you have to really decide, do the positives with Alex Singleton outweigh the negatives? The team decided that, yes, the positives do outweigh the negatives, and that's why they brought him back. I do feel like there are some things schematically that they can do to avoid putting Singleton in bad situations. I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter about this last night where sometimes Singleton, he gets put in a bad situation where they blitz Hufanga and he's in charge of covering a wide or a tight end or a running back or somebody like that out of the backfield one-on-one. That's just not fair to him. So schematically, there are some adjustments that you can make. Maybe have somebody else as that replacement player as opposed to Singleton. But overall, man, you had an opportunity to upgrade that room, and you just didn't do it. And that's what frustrates me the most.
Yeah, and
Kool-Aid Man runs through a wall and then screams Singleton sucks.
Yeah, not the
This is the way that, because Larry the stripper Reed was asking on was talking about Alex Singlenut. Right, Alex Singlenut on Twitter. And basically, he's like, why are all these Denver Broncos fans hating on Alex Singleton? We're not hating on Alex Singleton. We like Alex Singleton. He's a great leader. He's a great person. He did all this stuff with one nut. Like, he's a great person.
Oh, my God.
But,
well, it's true. He did.
You can't, like, you have to be able to recognize that at certain points, very important points in games, he struggles and his weaknesses show. So it's not that we don't like the guy, but we can at least recognize that we can do better.
Well, and the thing is I actually think you're referring to Ty Walden, because Ty Walden actually asked the same question.
It might have been a comment on Ty's,
but like he, because I basically just answered to Ty because he was that same question. I just said it's never about the person, and that's the way it needs to continue to be prefaced with Alex Singleton. It is never the person Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton is one of the best locker room presences you can have on the team. And if the Broncos clearly are priding themselves on loyalty and nothing but vibes for that locker room, Singleton would be a Ring of Famer right now, just based off of that. But when you turn on the film and you turn on everything that he is impacted, on the field, he is a very below average linebacker.
No way.
His coverage and everything else is 97th of 98th in the NFL. That's terrible, by the way. And then when you look at the tackles, he racks up 150 some tackles this season.
How many does he miss?
That's the other side of this. But how many of those is a missed tackle percentage? He misses tackles for as much tackles as he gets. He misses a ton of them. So you get a lot of give and take, and it's all about locker room. The good news, roughly, to that contract, I will say, is it's basically a 1-year deal. So that's why I'm praying. I'm praying that the Broncos address that linebacker position this year, specifically in the the draft, and they can be able to replace Alex Dinglenut this next year.
Those without context on that are probably like, what are we talking about? Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about
where can I put
free agents that are available and who we might still be in on. I think this is going off of like Sean Payton, George Payton recent history. This is where the Broncos start signing people, and all the big guys are gone, all the big names are gone, the big contracts are out of the way. Now we get quantity for quality, right? Like this is where we get them. I'll start with tight ends, and these are just like the top 101 that were in free agency. This is what's left. Obviously, there's a lot more. Again, I didn't have time, and I just hit print on NFL.com.
Well, grab your paper. Grab your paper.
Right.
See?
Okonkwo, 26-year-old tight end, still available. He's good in 2 tight end sets. Not really a fan. It's not who I'd want. There's also Dallas Goedert.
Gimme.
Dude, I don't know.
At this rate,
you think Goddard? Okay, but would you rather? Okay, so there's Goddard, there's Waller, and there's Njoku. I'd rather have Njoku.
Waller, you can erase Waller off that list, boy.
I'm just saying what's on it. I don't want him. I'm just saying those are the 4 that are available.
Been written on that sheet of paper is what I'm saying.
I printed it. I didn't write it.
I definitely
if it's
agree.
between Goddard or Njoku, who are you taking?
Njoku.
It doesn't matter to me.
I'm good either way. It's a real tight end. We need a real tight end.
I don't really care. Obviously, it seems like the Leafs have been going Njoku. The Eagles just signed 2 tight ends to a 1-year deal. So clearly Goddard's not coming back. Seems like maybe even Njoku's not going to be signing there. Give me one of them. That's all I care. Just give me one of them.
It's like Goddard and Njoku. Yes.
I saw earlier in the chat when it comes down to defensive line, there were DJ Reader and Cameron Jordan were brought up.
You want to know what's funny about DJ Reader is he should have been a Denver Bronco like 5 years ago or something. Because there was the 1 year where he signed with the Bengals, and I think that year they went to the Super Bowl. 2 years later, they went to the Super Bowl. But like that year, he was supposed to sign a deal with the Broncos, and then 20 minutes later, the Bengals scooped him up.
Cam Jordan, I know people are making the Sean Payton connection, but I don't think he's really a scheme fit. He's more of a 4-3 edge rusher. Denver plays a base 3-4. If they were to play him, it would be on the interior defensive line, and I don't know if he'd want to make that shift at this point in his career. So I just don't know if from a schematic perspective, Jordan's a fit.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to stop looking at this X-ray that you sent me, Glenn, but I can't. I can't stop looking at it. No, I wasn't looking at the knee. All right, anybody that's still out there.
If anyone's wondering, I'm sure you'll find it if you're on Twitter at all. Is the Max Crosby X-ray? Pretty funny stuff.
Oh boy. Trade for Laporta.
There you go. There's the X-ray.
Dude, Oh no, we're on the syndicate.
Dude,
Oh, that's gonna get demonetized.
no, it's not. You're fine. You won't. I promise.
God,
You won't,
dude,
I
why
promise.
did you do that?
It's an X-ray. You're fine.
It's
As far-
X-ray.
I can only hope that was.
You're fine. I promise.
Good news. It was Chuck's X-ray. Thank you, Chuck.
Oh, dude. I knew I was playing with fire.
You're fine. I
Oh,
promise.
my
I
God.
guarantee you're fine.
As far as trading for Sam Laporta, though, I think it makes some sense. There's been some rumors percolating about Sam. You know,
How about Ben Powers for Sam Laporta?
Hey, Detroit needs some offensive line help.
Desperately.
I mean, you know, so I wouldn't. I mean, I would even trade Alex Singleton's other nut for Sam Laporta. Like, it just, I mean, hey, I'm like that desperate for something else that's in that tight end room. So, but there are some rumors, you know, circulating there, you know, for maybe that he'd be on the block. Luke Musgrave has been kind of another name that I think I myself have been kind of like saying as far as like last year. And, you know, maybe that's something that becomes a little bit of a thing this upcoming year, if you will, in the around draft or something. But yeah, it can be interesting.
Gage, you look stressed.
Just a little. I'm hoping I don't get the dreaded email.
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh, God.
All right. I think that covers everything.
Yeah.
Like, there's really not much to talk about until Denver does something.
Now that you just single-handedly ruined Gage's career, like, you know, my work here is done.
I do think that one other guy we should at least talk about is Chris Rodriguez, because I did make a video about him earlier today. I think that as far as value signings go for where you are at this point in the offseason, you might as well think about it. He's a really good physical downhill runner, and it's all about just trying to have an insurance policy for J.K. Dobbins. That's the real big thing here, because J.K. Dobbins, you know, if he stays healthy for all 17 regular season games and stays healthy through the playoffs, it's a great signing, but you can't depend on that. You can't expect that. So I feel like you have to pivot to some kind of insurance policy, and that's where Chris Rodriguez could come into play. He's going to be officially available tomorrow as he's a restricted free agent, and that's the thing, too, is restricted free agents will come available tomorrow, as well as guys who are getting released by their original team. Those guys will be coming available tomorrow as well. So that's something to really keep an eye on, and I think that's where the next big wave of free agency is going to happen.
Yeah, you know, one thing that we should definitely address is PJ Locke moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. 1-year deal, $5 million. I know that's a number that kind of took me by surprise that we didn't bring him back, especially after how well he performed when 22 got hurt. But but just wanted to wish PJ well, especially after what he went through with his back surgery before this season, and none of us really knowing what exactly he had gone through up until he released that almost like mini documentary, that video about his surgery. So good luck to PJ Locke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One thing I forgot to bring up, Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Speaking of locker room cancers, apparently, Dre Greenlaw is no longer with the Denver Broncos. I think it was a mix of a couple things. One, he was injured all the time. Two, he got suspended for threatening to kill a referee. Not gonna
After
go
a win, mind you.
After a win. And three, there's been talk about him not getting along with Sean, him not getting along with Vance, him being a bad locker room person. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what's going around. But yeah, Dre Greenlaw is no longer on the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, we talked about that in the green room. I want to say it's Gage and I think it just became evident it was structurally a really bad fit, and as I think it's frustrating on the surface just when you think of the Singleton signing. and then you cut Dre Greenlaw versus running it all back. I mean, the optics of it look really terrible. And then releasing him and cutting him like the day before free agency or right around free agency, it seemed the optics of it don't look great. But at the end of the day, when something like that happens, it's more that goes into it than just, they just released him. I think at the end of the day, there was a conversation between Greenlaw and the team where they just wanted to go their separate ways, and Greenlaw just asked to be released. I think it's really that simple.
I think, Cam, when after the season, when he complained that first of all, how challenging it was and how difficult it was to learn the scheme. And then he was talking about how hard Sean Payton works them as opposed to his previous coach, and he much preferred the what the previous coach was doing versus Sean Payton. The moment he said that, gonzo.
Yeah, and I'm not dismissing that at all. But I just think that it just by the end of it, it just kind of became they needed to go their own separate ways
for sure.
And so that's why I think he asked for the release.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
I think we got it.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us in the chat today. If you want to see the Max Crosby X-ray, go back about 5 minutes. You'll see it.
I'm going to have to cut that from the Broncos syndicate.
You'll be fine.
Let Gage go.
It'll be fine. Make sure that you join the MHRT Network YouTube page if you have not already. Go over there, hit subscribe, hit like, hit the thumbs up, hit that join button for any memberships. If you have subscribed to the MHRT Network, but you have not subscribed to Broncos Syndicate, make sure you go over to Broncos Syndicate, hit the like, subscribe, thumbs up, join, become a member. If you have joined Broncos Syndicate and not MHRT Network, do the opposite. Come join us over at MHRT Network as well. We would greatly appreciate it. We got shows Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the neighborhood that covers Broncos games and Avalanche games. So make sure you check that out. Cameron Parker hosts Mainly Broncos on Wednesday nights, so make sure you check that out. We would greatly appreciate it. We love you guys. We love the Broncos. We will be back, and hopefully we have some more updates on literally anything going on in free agency with the Broncos. So we'll see you then. See you guys. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.